My name is Melanie Crowley and I am the head of the Employment and Benefits Practice in Mason Hayes & Curran. I've been practicing employment law for over 2 decades, and while I'm not an economist, I can say with some conviction that the tide is turning and we are increasingly being asked as a team to advise organisations on restructurings and redundancies. So these are some of my top tips if you as an employer are thinking about a restructuring exercise. First, redundancy is about the role, not about the person. Think about the justification for reducing your headcount rather than trying to reverse engineer a performance issue or a conduct issue into a redundancy situation. Second, redundancy still requires a fair process, and that requires a level of engagement with employees. And it also means looking at things like suitable alternative positions for those employees whose roles are eliminated as part of the redundancy exercise. Third, employees with over 2 years service are entitled to statutory redundancy payments. There is an online calculator for calculating those amounts. There is a tradition and indeed an expectation in Ireland that employers will pay something over and above the statutory redundancy minimum. This usually doesn't amount to an obligation or a legal entitlement, but there are some circumstances where it can actually, and that's something that requires some consideration. Fourth, when the number of redundancies reaches a certain threshold within a 30-day period, there are increased obligations on employers under our collective redundancy legislation. This includes things like notifying the Minister for Enterprise at least 30 days before the first redundancy takes effect. It includes an obligation to facilitate the election of employee representatives where there aren't any representatives already in place, and an obligation to enter into a period of information and consultation with those employees whose roles might potentially be affected. Fifth, if you're thinking about a restructuring exercise which could ultimately result in some redundancies, take some advice from the finest and the best employment law team in Ireland here in Mason Hayes & Curran.